Friday the 13th is considered an unlucky day, but fortunately for us, it's also a slasher franchise that combines brutal violence with goofy shit. I'm Zack Bishop, and welcome to Season 5 of 4 Films. First up is, of course, Friday the 13th. While having a legendary twist and a great performance by Betsy Palmer as Mrs. Voorhees, this film actually suffers from poor pacing and a weird sense of confused editing. But despite its flaws, it still has some gruesome effects and a wonderful sense of building up tension, and that's why it's still a classic to this day. But Friday the 13th Part 2 is better. It really does improve on everything from the first film, and it has a great psychological trick that they use on getting the drop on the now on-screen, fully adult-sized Jason. And it just manages to be a better film despite having almost the exact same plot as the first film. Although with a new lead, and now it's 5 years later, so it makes the whole timeline very wacky. But speaking of wacky bullshit, Friday the 13th Part 3, 3D. The 3D gimmick has been here before, and sure it'll show up again, but this time it really sucked. So I guess it's kind of the same as every time. Although it seems for now that it lies dormant. Just like Jason. Oh god, I guess it will come back. But I really hope it doesn't. On the positive side, the characters of Shelley and Vera, their story actually is interesting. But the film goes out of its way to kind of backpedal any growth or development. It's like they really want to stick to the formula of kids go to a camp and they get butchered. So yes, the gimmick was underutilized because it really didn't add anything, so you get some goofy scenes, especially watching it in 2D. But it was a lot more entertaining than the next film, which may be shocking to some people because it does have some good things in it. I'm talking, of course, about Friday the 13th Part 4, The Final Chapter. First off, that title is a goddamn lie. Secondly, despite Corey Feldman and Crispin Glover being familiar faces, it doesn't really add anything to this film, which could have been very good, but instead they didn't focus on the right characters. Instead of the typical teenagers that get all slashed up, they really should have focused on the Jarvis family. It would have been some form of anchor or tether to keep us invested in these characters and whether or not they live or die. Something that they would go on to sort of do by establishing the very character of Tommy Jarvis. But instead, they basically recycle the plot for a fourth time of teenagers going to camp and getting wrecked by Jason. However, this would not be the series' low point by any means, because in a weird way, this is almost the start of a new trilogy. Final chapter, my ass. See you in Part 2.